Okay, the amount of money which is involved in smuggling tiger parts and lion parts and rhino horn and elephant ivory across the world rivals only that of heroin and cannabis. So this is a very important aspect to tackle wildlife crime based on wildlife forensics. We've got specialized laboratories to deal with this, and this also lies under the realm of wildlife biology. You can learn techniques which allow you to do that. Statistical models. Okay. Now this is based on multivariate discriminant function analysis. We are trying to identify tigers from their pug marks, but not by looking at them, but by using statistical models. So what you do is take prints of tracks, convert them on a computer in a digital format, take them into a geographic information system, and measure several variables, and then use these variables in statistical models to allow you to discriminate different animals. So you see these are clusters of pug marks of 18 different tigers in two-dimensional space. Actually this is 11 dimensions because there are 11 parameters here, but you can only see 2 dimensions. Okay? So if you want to, it's like the facets of your diamond ring. If you can change the facets, you can see different dimensions. So if this is in 2 dimensions, if you were to look in 3rd dimension, then you see the 17 and 16 tigers. They're very close to each other, but in a different dimension, they'll be far apart. So these are different statistical models. You need to understand and learn statistics to allow you to do that. You study different types of effects of toxins and pathogens on different types of animals. Here you can see a lot of abnormalities in lots of amphibians which are coming up, and they are due to a certain type of fungal infection and an overdose of pesticides in our agricultural practices. Now how these affect us, we don't know, but they're affecting frogs. And frogs are not that far away from us because we're eating the same things. So these animals act as models to allow us to understand the impacts of our influence on the environment and how it affects our health. So this is one other aspect of toxicology which one can study. You know this, right? It's been in the newspapers all over the world. You heard this? Diclofenac, does it ring a bell? Yeah, the vulture crisis. Do you see vultures anywhere? No. 97% of vulture populations have declined across Asia. Okay? The vultures are still there in Africa. But we have lost a lot of our vultures due to a drug which we use on a daily basis called diclofenac. It's a wonder drug, and it was used in veterinary medicine. And what happens is, vultures don't have a metabolic pathway to get rid of this drug from their body. Okay? So it accumulates in the kidneys, causing gout and kills them. So whenever you inject a cow or a bull or a buffalo with diclofenac, and if it dies and vultures feed on it, then the vultures die. Okay? So now the government of India has brought in a ban on this drug. Okay? The drug controller of India banned this drug about 3 years ago. Okay? So we are looking at whether the vultures are going to recover or not. But doesn't look like, because for human use it's still prevalent. Of course no vultures feed on us except unless you're a Parsi. Any Parsis here? So I'm not offending anybody, I hope. But Parsis have a habit of, they do not cremate or bury the dead, they leave them out, and the vultures were actually feeding on them. There are no vultures, who's going to feed on the bodies? So it's a big problem now. But what is happening is that the human drug, diclofenac, which is meant for your use and my use, is actually leaching out into veterinary medicine. So they're illegally using this to treat livestock. So the vultures are still dying due to this drug. Okay, are you guys tired? No. Okay, fine. Then I'll talk a little more. Sure? Yes. Okay, fine. Okay, now this is the application of remote sensing and geographic information systems to study aspects of wildlife which are very, very important for their conservation. Now here what we have done is we used a circuitscape which is used in engineering. It's a software which allows you to model in space the flow of current. If you're doing water management or doing a dam or something, you use this software to see from where water will flow and how will it flow from high potential to low potential. Same is used for current, right? Current flows from high potential to low potential through the path of least resistance. So this model is used to look at animal movements across 2 source populations or 2 reserves. So this is Rajaji Reserve, this is Corbett Tiger Reserve, this is Dudhwa. How tigers can move across this landscape from one to the other to the other. So the path of least resistance for movement between areas. This is targeted for conservation. So you can then model the corridor pathways which need to be conserved. for land use planning, make them into reserves and so forth. So you need to understand remote sensing, you need to study remote sensing, you need to study geographic information systems to allow you to do this kind of analysis. A lot of market out there with that application. If you look at this landscape here, this is a picture of the forests in central India, in Madhya Pradesh, in Maharashtra. Now this is the tiger reserve of Kanha, this is Pench, this is Satpura, this is Bandhavgarh, this is Achanak Marg, this is Bandhavgarh. You can see there are all forests connecting it. Wonderful, you say, wow, look at our country, it's still so much forested. We don't have to worry at all. But as soon as you superimpose roadways and railways on it, this is how it looks. Okay? Now superimpose cities on this. Superimpose mines on it. Okay? And it goes further and further deterioration. Animals can't move across this because it's all fragmented. Now this is a very important aspect for conservation. Because if you have ill-planned developmental activities, they're going to have detrimental effects for our survival as well as that of wildlife. Because we are dependent on biodiversity. How does Earth survive? Oxygen. Where does oxygen come from? From trees. Where do trees come from? Because there's rain. It's all, you know that, it's all interconnected. So these small little microbes have a role to play. And if we are going to destroy them like this, then God help us. We'll still have, when I was a kid, I used to drink water by digging a well in the river, and they used to fetch water from the river. Now that river is a sewage plant outside my village in Gujarat. I'm sure that by the time your children grow up, the way you have mineral water bottles, you'll have oxygen packed in bottles. Okay? It's going to happen. I mean, we never thought as kids that we'll drink mineral water from bottles. I don't travel one without that one in my backpack. But it was unbelievable when we were children. And believe me, your grandchildren will have to carry oxygen bottles if this is the rate at which we are going. So this is a crucial element of our survival. Development, yes, but not at the cost of nature. And this professional career which I'm talking about allows you to have a blend between the two. Okay, development is important. 9% growth rate at this cost? No, you can have 7% growth rate without these detrimental effects. There are ways and means to go about it. If you mine up the earth, you need to restore it. How do you restore it? A profession biologist will tell you how to recreate a forest. You don't have to plant it with Peltophorum and Gulmohar, okay? You need to have a forest grow onto it. What is the composition of a forest so that the entire biodiversity comes back onto it? This you need a professional to tell you. You can have a highway which cuts off a forest into two, but you need to have bridges for wildlife. This is a highway which cuts across Banff National Park in Canada. But they have overpasses and underpasses so that the populations of wildlife can exchange the genetic material from one side to the other. So cars can go as well as wildlife can survive. So that is about now coming to how do you do all this. Okay? That was some exposure to what you can do. The kind of skills and techniques that you require. You can do a lot of this work with a simple notebook and binoculars. Traditional biologists which used to do that. But now a lot of technological applications have come into the picture. You have radio telemetry, global positioning systems, satellite telemetry, all are tools which I showed you some of the applications in my previous slide, how they are applied to conserving wildlife. Remote sensing applications, geographic information systems, highly technical stuff which engineers use, okay, doctors use to do surgery, plastic surgeons use for doing all that kind of stuff on your face. All that application is there for wildlife conservation. Molecular genetics, PCR based work, sequencing work, all has application in biodiversity conservation. You need to be a skilled biostatistician. You need to know computers. You need to know programming. You need to be a sociologist because you need to work with people. Okay? You need to be an economist because as soon as you say we want land, is it economically viable or not? Economics is a very important component. You need to know policy, you need to know law. So it's a real multidisciplinary plan. You can specialize in any one of this and take up a career as a wildlife biologist. Okay? You don't have to be a biologist, but you can be a law enforcing agent and still take up a career in this. So from 10th standard, 11th standard, 12th standard onwards, what do you need to do? Okay? Ideally speaking, in India, you need to have a bachelor's in biology. Any subject in biology is really great to have as a background, because that forms the essence of understanding how life works. So you can be a botanist, you can be a zoologist, you can do anything in life science, you can be a veterinary scientist, okay? You can do forestry, or you can study sociology, economics, biochemistry, biotechnology, whatever else. Okay? So this is the essence of doing a bachelor's in India. If you're going to go abroad for your studies, you have no limitation. Okay? Because outside of India, we have a much better blend of mixing subjects. In India, our university system is quite rigid because you cannot shift from biology to physics. Once you set up on a biology trend, difficult after BSc. If you've done a biology major, you need to major as a master's in biology. But abroad, you can mix and blend whatever you wish to do. So there are much more scopes in studying abroad in UK or US or Australia for that matter. You need to have a master's in biological sciences. You can do a master's in wildlife science, which some of the universities and we offer. I'll talk to you about that. And then you can go in for an ultimate degree, it's a doctoral degree in wildlife science, conservation biology, conservation genetics, and so forth. Why do you study? Okay, you can do pure sciences, preferably in biology in India or abroad, where you can have a multidisciplinary approach. Okay. You can do a master's. We offer masters in Dehradun. It's a government institution, and we offer fellowships for people who are interested. There's a national level exam. We have up to about 300 to 400 applicants, out of which we give 12 fellowships. They're fully funded. The cost is about 5 lakhs. But it's paid by the government once you're selected. There are self-sponsored candidates as well. We have 2 international seats as well. So you can come there to study in Dehradun, where I work. Or there are many other venues in India where they offer degrees. Center for Ecological Sciences at the Indian Institute of Science in Bangalore. You have Salim Ali School of Ecology in Pondicherry. Aligarh Muslim University in Aligarh. There's NCBI, which is one of the leading institutions in wildlife science today in Bangalore. Some colleges also offer these courses in wildlife biology at the master's level. Best venue, if you want to really get a good education, not because I've studied there, is go to the US. Okay? There's a fantastic coursework involved in getting a degree, and I think you'll get a real good education if you go to the US. I would not recommend for the same level any schools in Europe. Okay? Europe has a different way of education where you don't require such high level of coursework. So it's great. If you want to finish your degrees fast, then European universities are very good. But if you want, you have 5 years of your life, if you can dedicate to this, then go to the US. You can get a PhD from any of these institutions and countries. After you do this, then what? Of course, you can come and lecture like I'm doing. Okay? So that's one of the things you can do. But more to it, you need to make 2 ends meet. You need to make money. So where do you earn? Okay? So there are several job opportunities with the government.